Let us open this space with prayer. So I invite you to become aware of your body in this time and in this space. Breathe. You can feel the breath filling your lungs, knowing that oxygen is going to all parts of your body. And we exhale and we release in this beautiful cycle, symbolic of all the cycles that we live through and experience as human beings. On this first Wednesday of October, we ground ourselves into awareness that we are human beings, we are right here, we are right now. No matter what is going on in life, no matter what is going on in the body, no matter what is going on in the world, we can return to balance and harmony, a state of clarity, a state of grace. We are love and we are light, and so it is. Amen.
So it is. Thank you, Reverend Shirley, for that beautiful invocation, and we give Reverend Jean Marie our blessing for not being here tonight. She has the evening off, but I'm very pleased to be able to introduce a new talent in our community. She's been part of the community for a while, but she's stepping forward as a singer. I'd like you to help me give some love to Jessica Neat, who's going to be helping lead the chant tonight. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you being here. So as we enter into this chanting portion of our service, I encourage you to intone as much of it as you're inspired to intone. God loves all prayers. God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. It's just that easy. God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am, God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am, God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am, God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. This next song allows us to use our hands with the meditation, and there are 4 syllables, satanama, and you can use it one hand, satanama, can do a two-handed version. Sa, ta, sa. My favorite, though, is to put hands together and go sa, ta, sa, ta. You can sing with me, you can sing with Jessica, you can sing the whole thing if you want to, you can just listen if you want to. God hears all prayer. I encourage you to surrender to this repetitive mantra over and over and over again.
Satanama, 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 Satanama. All things come from God. All things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again. All things come from God. All things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again and goes back home again.
Satanama, 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 Satanama,
Satanama, Satanama, Satanama, Satanama,
Satanama, Satanama,
Satanama, Satanama.
all things come from God, and all things go to God. Everything comes from God and goes back home again.
All things come from God, and all things go to God. Everything comes from God, goes back home again, and goes back home again.
And so this is the time in our service that we move into a quieter state. And this evening, we will be practicing body awareness and mental awareness in our meditation. I will lead you. I'll just invite you to know there is nothing for you to do but to observe and to perceive, to watch and to know. And so I'll just invite you first to breathe with me and to relax into a seat that you've chosen, arranging your body comfortably, adjusting yourself in your seat so that you're completely reliant on the seat you have chosen. to support your back, to lift your weight, to allow your feet to be positioned comfortably. Head floating above your neck, shoulders adjusted and comfortable, straight, your spine long. Feel the softness of your front and the firmness of your back, holding you in comfortable position. Your seat comfortable against the chair, legs, feet resting. Now I invite you to feel your body, breathing into it and watching it fill full of oxygen, and with the out-breath, releasing it throughout your body, moving out from you. And allow as you breathe and as you relax, allow your inner vision, your inner awareness to feel your body, all of its sensations directly from the inside of your body, not as an observer outside of it, not as you imagine it, not a mental image, but as you breathe, just as you breathe, be on the inside of your body and noticing the interior plane across your thorax and chest, down through your abdomen, down into your legs. On the interior, notice any places where you see and sense as you travel inside of your body. As simple awareness, that's all. Notice where it is warm. Notice where it is cool. From the inside, notice if it's constricted or tight. Where it is relaxed and soft. Breathing. Notice it change as you breathe. Notice how it moves as you breathe. Continuing to scan your body from the inside. Notice where there is pain, perhaps a vibration of one kind or another, where you notice your heartbeat, pulse, movement with the breath, or a desire to move. Pressure. Numbness, nothing at all. Notice as your awareness moves throughout the interior of your entire body. All the way down to your toes. Traveling back up through your legs, abdomen, torso, chest, throat, head, Sense what you notice, what changes, without willing change. Notice what is, without assigning meaning or naming or interpreting or fixing. Just notice, aware, breathing, and your awareness flows. Now bring your awareness to your mind. Use your consciousness, your simple awareness now, to observe what is playing across the screen of your mind. What voices perhaps are speaking to you, telling you something now. Notice your thoughts. Awareness. Simply observe your interior mind without being drawn in. You discover you are. When you do, return to just awareness. Notice without engaging. Be aware of your reactions to a change in temperature or position, to a nagging desire to move, to flex, or to alleviate pressure. Just notice. Become aware of your feelings, your reactions to thoughts or to life itself, without being embedded in those reactions. Simple awareness, powered by the breath, watches the mind. Notice if you are mad or sad or glad. Just sensing them, feeling where they reside in your body. Where those feelings are, as you continue to follow your mind, feeling the sensations in your body. As they move about in your body as sensation. The body reacts and harbors emotions that arise from thoughts. Defend, explain, interpret, just observe and breathe. If something challenging in emotions or memories arise, just keep breathing, just breathe, keep observing, stay aware as watcher. Notice where your body reacts to these memories, these feelings, these thoughts. Breathing through the reactions now. watching. Now, gently return your focus into the body as a whole, your body's interior. Your body is one thing. Go back to your heart and to the breath. Now you are in your seat. Notice that. Bring your focus to this room, to this time and place. And when you are ready, one deep breath. And with the out breath, open your eyes. And here you are. And so it is. Amen.
Spiritual practice where we get to come together and meditate and hear Reverend Karen's beautiful voice and David's beautiful piano playing. And if you're watching this from home or outside or wherever you are part of this community, and we are in this together. So this is how we heal. This is how we heal ourselves. This is how we heal our community and how we heal our world, is we center, we focus, we gain awareness, and we give that out into the world. So now is our time of gratitude to give to this community. You can give through the text to give number on your screen or through the website. For our regular online givers, thank you for your continued support through all that we're going through in this world. So however you give of your time, your energy, your treasure, bring that to mind and heart, and let us bless our offering together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Thank you.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, bright sunny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of this bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Amen.
Thank you, Jessica and David. This is wonderful to have you here with us this evening. It's so great. Yes. So good to have you here. This is also the start of a new series that we're doing here on Wednesday night, and it is using the book Living Originally by Robert Brummett. He is a Unity minister. He was an instructor for both Jean Marie and I, and I'll just tell you, he's my favorite. I have other favorites too, if you're watching, but Robert Brummett was really spectacular in his the wholeness from which he taught, and I just really was impacted by him. So it's a pleasure to use his book, Living Originally. He is also a longtime practitioner in mindfulness techniques, and you may have remembered that we had him as a guest during our SEE week, and some nods, and his mindfulness retreats are very popular, and I think many of our congregation got an experience of him in the same way we did in school. But in this particular series, in this book, he is describing 10 practices that he believes if you apply them with commitment and regularity, that you will be able to transform your life. And the first that we will be talking about this evening is one of the first 5 or core practices that he feels are very useful. They'll be ones that you'll return to over and over again. It's not just step 1, you're done, step 2, you're done, kind of moving on. They'll be sort of tools. They'll be in your toolkit. You'll refer back to them from time to time, and probably reflectively if you practice them enough. In other words, just as on instinct. But tonight I'll be talking about radical self-awareness and the technique that helps us to see more clearly how our minds work, how our ego interferes, and how our true nature can show us the way to freedom and peace. So Living Originally is an interesting title, and he talks a little bit about that, but he doesn't mean it in the way that we may think of it. We think of an original. We often talk about somebody as very original, meaning that they're very unique. We usually think of them as one of a kind, right? They're original. They are, nobody looks like that. Nobody talks or walks like that, right? Or that if you're living originally, that you're striving to go opposite things or to be different, just to be different, to stand out. But again, that's not what he's referring to here. What he says is that living originally is living consciously from our origin, from the foundation of our being, from the source of our authentic life. Most of us have a false self that's really compiled and cultivated in our minds over years of thinking and egoing our lives around, like making up stories. I don't know, am I the only one who does that? Where, you don't really have enough information, but you think you do, and so you put together, and jump to a conclusion, and that becomes your truth, your pseudo-truth, until proven otherwise, or embarrassed, or guilted, or shamed, or called on it, or whatever. And then you alter or change accordingly. But we live so much in our heads, it's appalling how little we actually live our lives that are out here in front of us. that are everywhere, that are engaging with everything. And so this practice, anything that you choose to use in this book, Living Originally, you can get his book online, by the way, it is actually going to support you in just looking at your own mind and your own thought process to be able to distinguish. Because if you're only seeing what you always see, then you're being it. And you really do not have the power to pull out and see it for what it is. Therefore, you have no choice until you're able to see it. Now, I see those were my assumptions, whether they're based on fact or they bear out whether I'm right or wrong or whatever. At least now I see, and I can have the power to choose differently. And therein lies the shift and the change. Just one thought at a time, one awareness at a time, insights begin to arise. He says to live originally is to live from the center of one's being, to live authentically, to not be defined by culture or by environment, to be truly oneself. In order to do that, however, you again have to be aware of where you aren't having original thoughts. You're having repetitive thoughts, habitual patterns, constant running down the same trim lines, right? Over and over again. Trim line, I just made that up. I don't know what that is. But some place where you run the track, like you're running a track all the way around, over and over again, which no wonder we get into depression. No wonder we struggle. No wonder one day sometimes looks like the next day or the day before. There's some places in which we are habitating, habitually thinking, habitually living, that is not the truth of us. And it separates us from what is beautiful and natural and changing all around us in every moment. He says living originally is to live aware of our needs, but not unconsciously controlled by them or controlled by the strategies to fulfill those needs. So it isn't that we don't have needs, that you don't have things to do, that just living in constant awareness. Well, you've also got to make plans. You got to deal with some things that happened before so that you can plan some things that are going to happen, right? All of that is true, but the mind that you use to do that with can become a practice of becoming more and more consciously aware of doing one thing at a time. For those of us who are constantly trying to multitask, which science tells us we cannot do, but we still assume and assure ourselves that we can, that in fact we really have to bring our focus to do the thing that's in front of us, to be present to this moment. And the practice of it will become ingrained in us because you know what? It's our natural state. And we can unlearn what is unnatural about our thinking. Robert Brummett also says that all of this leads to transformation. Remember I said at the beginning that these 10 practices from the entire book that we'll cover in this series can transform your life. But what exactly is transformation? And why should you want that? It's kind of messes up the plan if you've got a plan or the process, right? Transformation is the process by which we shift our identity from the personality to the authentic self. In other words, an internal and invisible process happens on the inside of us, but it ultimately impacts the visible and external aspects of our life, our health, our relationships and work, every facet of life. So transformation, here's the deal. Transformation happens with the slightest aha from the most internal center of your being. When you have an insight, when you have an aha in this moment, at some deep level within you, of letting go of some small thing or becoming willing where you weren't willing before, to fall back into surrender where you couldn't let go before. When you find some little click, some new little spark or idea, when it happens at this point in you, it radiates out, it radiates an awareness, a shift, a change, a new vibration that will actually impact a larger and larger piece of the pie that is your life. In other words, there are things that are connected in ways you would never imagine that they were. There are things in your life that impact one another, that if you shift this one thing, suddenly it affects something way over here that you weren't even thinking about or working on. A relationship suddenly becomes easier, suddenly shifts. That's what transformation can do. It can come in from many kinds of processes, but in this particular one, it will be something that you'll begin to be able to put together as you practice your awareness. You'll discover a whole new dimension of reality. I had a therapist who described that kind of new function, a higher level of function. She would call it up-leveling. It was referred to as up-leveling. It's probably a process that's in some other, psychotherapeutic models, but it was news to me, and it really helped me to recognize that when I up-level, it's like I had the perception of going to another level in the house in which I've been living all my life and find that there's a whole new floor I hadn't explored, that there's a whole new thing. And this does impact and affect every aspect of your life, and it takes time to integrate, time to put it into place. Transformation is not translation, and translation I'll explain in just a second. Transformation is always spiritual, but not necessarily religious. It may require a new faith practice to support the change, as a matter of fact. In other words, when we transform, we don't get to control where we go. We don't get to control who goes with us in it or what we become. That's the whole point, isn't it? We become something we couldn't have guessed. We couldn't have known. I was a practicing Catholic, and I was doing a lot of work that was, I was working on aspects of myself in codependency that that I had become aware of, and so I was working really hard on changing those patterns, thinking I was just cleaning up stuff inside of me. That's what I thought. I thought I was just like taking care of business that I didn't know quickly before other people figured it out, right? And before my outside started showing. And somebody was saying something about religion, and I said, no, I'm Catholic. I'm not interested in another, why don't you go to Unity? I'm like, no, I don't need to go to Unity. I'm Catholic, I just didn't understand. I didn't see any advantage to that. But as time went on, I discovered that some of the practices that were very, very important to me, things I was trying to change about myself, I was only getting re-upped on Sundays when I would go and hear the messages and the teachings of my long time, of my full life of Catholicism. And I couldn't hear it differently. And I found that it wasn't serving me anymore. It was keeping me stuck. So I set it aside, and I came to Unity to hear the message that was in concert with where I was wanting to go. I had no intention of becoming a minister. That wasn't why I came, but it is what happened. And again, transformation happens when you stay dedicated to your own growth and to your own development. Not all spiritual teachings are necessarily transformational either. Some of them are considered to be translational. Let me explain what that is. Some are just aimed at helping the individual to function better within the existing self or reality system. That's a good thing too. Teachings to improve our life rather than wholesale transformation, like better health, more prosperity, happier relationships, self-improvement, feeling better, just feeling better, feeling more at peace. All of those things are great, and those are all reasons to do the work or to follow a spiritual teaching. But recall that last week I talked about the Buddha in his, I don't know if it was last week, but the last time I talked here I was talking about the true nature. And the true nature of the Buddha really was that he sat under the Bodhi tree knowing that his heart had been opened in compassion, that his mind was clear, but he still wasn't free. And it was that last bit of temptation where Mara was tempting him, just as Jesus was tempted in the desert by the devil, that it was a process of really knowing who he was and going and attaching to a power greater than his physical self, greater than his individual self, connected to his true self. And he called on that greater self, and in that moment, he awakened. He became fully free. This is the commitment of moving, up-leveling to a whole new place of enlightenment. The transformational teachings challenge the arrogance and the delusions of the ego right at the core, turning its world upside down. Sometimes crises, health challenges, job loss, death of a loved one can provide also this type of introspection and accountability and that kind of change. I know countless stories, probably in your history as well, where some catastrophe, some crisis in your life forced you to look for something you wouldn't have looked for before, that you wouldn't have gone to do, or what you wouldn't have done, you wouldn't have moved to, you wouldn't have divorced if you hadn't been forced to. Whatever it is that has come into your life, it causes a wholesale change. And it isn't just the change itself, it's a willingness to see the truth, to feel the pain, to confront our fears, to find courage to live differently. That's what's transforming. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you that changes everything. Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. It's a way for us to realize that become single-minded. The most important thing in my life is that I am true to myself, that I am honest, that I am of service, that I reach out, and when I'm confused or concerned or I can't figure something out, I remember that peace is my goal and love is the way. Those are my mantras for me. That's what I try to remind myself, that when I get off track or things become hard or impenetrable, I just go back to the things that really matter to me. And those aren't just platitudes. They really matter to me. I want to see the truth. Only the truth matters to me. The capital T truth, not the Karen Tudor version. I live with that all the time. I want the real truth. I want, even when it contradicts the Karen Tudor truth, because it usually does. The thing is that I will find that I will get closer to the peace, and I will find a way to love in that moment. Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. This single-mindedness, finding that one pathway, is really the thing. And finding your way through awareness of what is operational in you gives you the tools to be able to make new choices and to realign yourself and question some of the things that have been guiding you all along. Surrender is the letting go of what is in the way of true freedom. So that's letting go with your will. That's the only willful thing you really do is surrender, but surrender in itself is not fully an act of will. It is a willingness to let go, but sometimes it is a click. It's a breaking open. It's a release. It is finally giving up something you didn't even know you were holding on to, that you didn't even know what you were holding on to it with. And then it opens and shifts. And all the machinations of ego you discover were distractions, delusions, energy drains, took you nowhere. Break out of unconscious, habitual thinking and seeing by seeing how you really think, and be willing to make shifts and changes to see the truth of reality as perceived by the field of your heart. The transformative practices we actually used in our meditation this evening, tonight's practice with radical self-awareness was the deep self-acceptance will be, Reverend Jean Marie will bring next week, but the body awareness exercise that we went through in this meditation, just really paying attention to how we're sitting and feeling, how our body is, the sensations, practicing that 10 to 20 minutes a day, just being aware of it. It's a transformational process, and then begin to notice how the thoughts parade through. So while you're watching your body, watch your thoughts. Watch the judgments that go across. Try not to engage, just watch them. You don't need to, if you notice that you have a reaction to it, oh, you feel shame, you feel guilt, oh, you're still doing that, you're disappointed. It's like, okay, I notice disappointment. I just keep feeling, I just keep being aware, I keep breathing. You will find that you will become larger and larger and larger than the container that you thought you were. The transformation process is one where we clear out the storehouse of our subconscious that we've been plying with all of our thoughts and feelings and judgments, pain and experience and all of that, and allow the superconscious, the light, the enlightenment to begin to heal it. We look for that through it, and we release out of our subconscious all of that accumulated dross that doesn't help us anymore. Robert Brummett says, you can do this in your formal sitting, the 10 to 20 minutes a day that you make as a commitment, but you can also use daily routines to go into just body awareness and mind awareness when you're washing dishes or when you're taking a shower or when you're doing something, when you have brief downtimes like waiting at a stoplight or standing in line at the grocery store. You just notice your body. Notice where your hands are. Notice how you're breathing. Notice where it's tight. Notice where it's soft, comfortable. Notice how you're breathing, how you're feeling, how your heart is beating. When you're eating, you can become conscious of the bite, taste, smell, texture. Just become aware, just mindful. Every moment that you pull yourself out of just doing and running around with the thought whirligig going around in your head, and you can just stop it long enough to just notice, is gain. There's gain there. I don't know what it is. It's gain. I don't know what it's going to mean to you. Only you're going to know that. I don't know where it's going to take you. I don't know what transformation looks like in your life, but you're going to show us when you do it. Robert Brummett said his personal strategy also is to try to maintain continuous awareness of his hands whenever he's sitting down. Just sitting here talking and then just noticing where his hands are, how his hands are. We're not talking about position. Maybe at first, we're talking about inside, like we did in the meditation. Inside. From the inside, how am I? And yet he's still very engaged with whatever's going on around him. More so. because he's aware of where his hands are. When he's standing or walking, he notices his feet. That's his practice. And it helps him to find one insight at a time, shifting, changing. Again, one thing from the very center changes multitudes of your life in amazing ways. Remember, the goal is not to feel better, though. It's to accept whatever happens, whatever you're feeling, whatever the emotion, even if it's pain, breathing into it, allowing it. To feel better or more peaceful or to see uniquely, it is not the goal. The goal is to see yourself and the world just as they truly are, without changing, fixing, doing anything different. Robert Brummett says, it's helpful to remind yourself that the intention of transformational practice is to go deeper into your personal and present experience so you can discover the greater reality that is already here. You're not conjuring anything up, you're revealing it to yourself. We experience, he says, the superconscious, the light, becoming ever brighter as we become infused with the light. And we see that we are the light itself. The light shines through us into the external world. We are in the world, but not of it, when we are living originally. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Karen, especially beginning with that meditation. I see how it all fit together. And to me, this is really the essence of spirituality, is learning to live as a divine being while being a human being.
Yes.
And to me, that's also the difference between spirituality and religion a lot of times, because I grew up very Christian, very active, thriving Christian community, but it was always looking to a future time. It was, when Jesus was going to come back in a cloud and save us. And that's what I love about unity. And your message and your meditation tonight is, it's about now, right? It's about being present, being fully realized, fully available for the divine to work through us as us while we have these human bodies. And in the meditation, it felt so fun to be human, and I love that feeling. So
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for taking us there.
Oh, I love that. I love that report. I love hearing that because we shouldn't we? This is our playground, right? I mean, this is our gift, and it's not just our avatar. It is that for our spiritual life and our soul, but it is so, it's what roots us here. Because when it's done, our life here is done, at least that iteration of it,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all that you were saying about living authentically, it reminded me of an experience when I was a teen growing up, and when I was a senior in high school. I grew up in the church, and I remember, and I sang in the adult choir because I just did. That was my thing, and so I was this kid singing with these grown-ups, and I sat next to Bob Fuller, who sang tenor, and the guy had a son my age, and he had seen me grow up in the church. I mean, so the guy knew me. I mean, really knew me. And he would, as I was getting ready to graduate, he would say, just be yourself. Just be yourself. And I had no idea what that meant, And then I got a little bit of perspective on it, and I realized that he saw my gayness, that he must have known. And he knew that as a young adult, there were going to be crossroads, there were going to be opportunities. I didn't even know how do you not be yourself, right? But then I found myself in situations where being my authentic self required great courage, and it was choice. And it was a deliberate, conscious stepping into my own power, releasing the veil, and just like, okay, here we go. And I really value that. That is probably my strongest core value, is to live authentically. So I want to ask you something, because I think I have a fairly robust and healthy spiritual practice around that distinction. And I was hearing all the quest for transformation, and it took I had to keep reminding myself that the fundamental premise is that we are whole, perfect, and complete just as we are. Mm-hmm. And transforming isn't just to get better. You said that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there's something in the equation that suggests that we get dusty, we get dirty just in hanging out in our lives, and we need to renew our self-awareness. To live originally, we kind of, in a way, we have to kind of shake off what isn't us, implying that we are in a circumstance where we are constantly being challenged to be ourselves. And I'm struggling with that basic idea that we have to kind of brace ourselves against Mother Gaia and everything that the world hurls at us. That is it possible to truly live originally and to just be in a state of self-awareness, or is it this constant undoing?
Well, what I would have spent more time on if this had been a class, which really is how the ego is used. You see, the ego is really, it is a tool, and you've heard me say this many times because it's something we just have to remind ourselves. The ego is an important thing. It is not the goal to become ego-less. We need our ego for the world, okay? We don't need it making decisions for us. We don't need it running our world. We don't need it telling us what we need and how we need to get it, and strategizing and judging and looking at people around us and saying, well, you're really doing okay, Karen, because look at that one over there. Oh, but you're not nearly as good as that one over there or that one over there. And, it's like it just insinuates itself here, because that's what it does. That's what it's really good at when it's not being guided. And so really, it isn't that, it's to become aware. This is where the transformation happens, is to become aware that that's what's happening, and none of that's the truth. None of that is the truth. The truth of me is that I am already whole and perfect inside, but what I'm showing the world and my personality and my ego machinations is not the truth of me. So in order to be authentic, I need to challenge this thinking, breaking that open and let the light shine. I'm making it look like it's coming from outside of me, the superconscious, but in fact it's coming from me and breaking open so that my light shines, but I see it and I'm able to be it. And really and truly, it's always going to be here. It's always going to be here. You're always going to feel it in your heart. You're going to know what is right. You don't know how from here. What you'll know from how is the ego goes, I know how to do that. I know who to call for that. I know how to Google that. It's like the ego will help you find your way when it's being guided by the truth. And so it's the process of waking up to all the ways that we're letting ego run us. And that's the thing. So thank you. Now I'm complete. That was the complete message tonight. Thanks for asking that important question.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is that it's about honing the intuition, like honing the conscience, that connection with the divine, and being available, right? To be an instrument, to be useful, to be effective, to be an effective human being.
Right. All suffering is resistance. All suffering is of the ego. It isn't the world hurling it at us. Yes, there are conditions that are painful and terrible and we didn't ask for them and all kinds of things come our way. But those aren't the things that we suffer with, honestly. It's the meaning we give to it. It's all the things that we internalize about it that doesn't allow us to just shake it off and move on like our pets do when something happens. They just shake it off and they just go on, you know? That's the way we should be more often in our lives.
Yeah, my definition of suffering is wanting it to not be the way it is.
Oh, yes.
You know, I want it different than the way it is. And once I am aware that I'm running that tape, sometimes I hang out there. It's like, I need to suffer on this just a little longer, you know? I'm not quite ready to let go of it, but then once it's malleable at that point, you know, once I realize that I'm running that story, running that show, and I'm getting something out of it, then I don't stay there very long, you know? But sometimes it's sophomore, and it's a little disingenuous to say, I'll just let go of it then. I might not be ready to let go of it. I mean, I can do it pretty quickly, but I actually need to go through the process of like noticing I'm suffering and then be in the suffering for just a second and say, okay, wow, all right. And then I can move past it. You know, Mary Morrissey used to say, listen to the part of you that knows it knows. And I like that idea, and it resonates for me viscerally, you know, whenever I hear her say that and whenever I be that, whenever I think that, because it implies that there is a part of me that is dialed in spite of myself. You know, like I can't escape it. It is the part of me that is always, always, always connected with the Divine One, and I can just sort of tune into that, and I call that my authentic self, you know, the part of me that knows it knows. And if I can just rest in that space for just a second, then I can find my footing in just about any circumstance.
Yes, I was talking with somebody this week, and that's what she said. She just said, you know, when I can remember just to rest in God. You know, that she's amazingly accomplished in so many areas of her life, and she was asking me one more thing, and I suggested that she just refer to something greater than herself. And when she did, she's like, I always forget. I can just stop and rest in God. And that she gave back to me, because I was like, yeah, what does that feel like? Just resting. Oh, thank you. Yes, I've done enough today, you know.
What does it say in the, Reverend Shirley, I just want to say, what does it say in the Course in Miracles about if you knew who was beside you, you would never fear again?
Yeah.
Something like that. I can't remember the exact verbiage.
I was just going to share, you were talking about changing the patterns, changing the routines, and I experienced that the other day because a lot of times when I eat breakfast or lunch, I'm doing something else. I'm reading. I like to read. And so the other day, or a couple times lately, I've just gone outside and watched the plants, you know, just look at nature. And it's just so beautiful. And I think I could do this more often, you know, change that pattern, change that habit, and just really notice. I noticed I had 8 caterpillars on my butterfly bushes. So they're going to turn into butterflies, hopefully. But yeah, I wouldn't have seen that, you know, because you have to kind of look carefully, be present to it.
Right.
And it's a great reminder.
It really is. And you know, 1,000 times I've said this, nature is always going on. It's always going on. As soon as you walk outside, something that you would have said, well, I know what my garden looks like. I just was in there. You know, I watered it, I weeded it, I took care of it. But to notice then something new had just happened there that, you know, it's like we think too much with our heads. We live too much here and not enough here, like kids. Kids aren't thinking. They're just running headlong into the next moment, right into stuff.
Now let's take these ideas, these concepts, this openness, this clarity into prayer for others, into prayer for our world, into prayer for all that's going on inside and outside. So, bringing our awareness again into the fullness of this human experience, saying yes to I am. Yes to I am a human being. I am a divine eternal being. I have access to the infinite, to the eternal, to the abundant source of all that is. And from this knowing that I know, I pray, and I know you join me in this prayer. Pray for our leaders. Pray for this spiritual community. Pray for our healthcare workers, for all the people who are going to work, doing what they do, and giving effectively into the world. And we pray with special blessings on our loved ones, our families, our friends, our pets. Special blessings for those who challenge us, for those who call us to be more than we are, for those who bring us into greater awareness and clarity by knowing what we want to reveal, what we want to have emerge through us as us. And in this space, I invite you to say the names of all who are on your heart, all who are on your mind, that we will hold them in this sacred space of prayer together. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, we wrap our beloveds in nurturing compassion, health, healing, wholeness, calling forth fulfillment, that we can all be the most beautiful, effective expressions of the divine here in this time on this beautiful planet Earth, knowing that all is one and all is well. And so it is. Amen.
And now let us join together in our prayer for the welfare of all beings, our metta practice, and speak these words together. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all.
Namaste, namaste, I bow to you. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Go shine your light into the world. Namaste, namaste. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste, namaste. Go shine your light into the world. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Thank you, Jessica.